Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making Katsudon. It's the first in a 4-part series of single servings I'm doing for the month of March while my partner is away. So we definitely need rice for this dish, and you want to rinse your rice 2 or 3 times just until that water runs clear. Now I'm using my rice cooker, but if you're cooking this stovetop, you want to let your rice soak for 30 minutes before you start cooking it. This is the joy of my rice maker. It sings a song when it starts and when it's done. While the rice is cooking, we're going to slice up 1 small onion just into thin strips. We can pop this in a bowl and set that aside. We also need to make a sauce for this, so in a small bowl we're going to add a teaspoon of sugar, a 1/4 cup of dashi, a teaspoon of mirin, and a 1/2 tablespoon of soy sauce. Give that a really good mix and set that aside as well. We also need 2 eggs for this recipe, 1 to dredge our pork chops in, and 1 to drizzle in to our hot pan later. So just using chopsticks to stir this up. And for the dredging eggs, we're going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil. It helps the egg stick to your pork chop. And it's something they do in Chinese restaurants. Adding some flour along with a teaspoon of salt. I'm a spicy girl, so I'm adding a teaspoon of gochugaru and a 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. We're adding that to the flour so it doesn't burn when we go to fry it. The last tray gets a little panko. And we're going to pound our pork chops. You can also use chicken breast for this. I could not find my meat tenderizer, so I grabbed my heavy rolling pin, and we're using that instead. Now we're going to go ahead and dredge in the flour first, and you want to keep 1 hand for the dry ingredients and 1 for the wet so you don't end up with a huge clove. Once that's coated, shake off the excess, roll that around in your egg, and you can see how nice the egg is sticking to this. Last, we are going to coat in our panko, and I'm doing 2 pork chops because I'm meal prepping for my lunch for work tomorrow. Now in a large saute pan, I've just heated up 1 inch of neutral oil, and I like to throw a little panko in to make sure it's ready to fry. Now, depending on how thick your pork chop is, you want to fry this for about 2 to 7 minutes, depending on how thick your chop is, before giving this a little flip and cooking for an additional 2 to 7 minutes per side. Then we're going to take this out, let this cool on a baking rack, and once it's cool enough, we're going to slice this into thick slices. Now, using the same pan, I've just discarded that old oil and cleaned it out. We're going to add another tablespoon of clean neutral oil and add in all of our onions. We want to saute this until they tenderize and they get little brown bits around the edges. It's going to add a ton of flavor. Once that's browned up, we can add in our sauce. Be careful because it will splatter. We're going to let that cook and reduce for about a minute. It's going to thicken up, it's going to intensify the flavor, and the onion's just going to absorb all that gorgeousness. Now we are going to layer on our sliced pork and drizzle in our egg. And now the egg, you only want to cook this until it's just set, but you kind of want to take the edges and push them in to make a nice little package. That egg is also going to pick up the sauce as well. Once the egg is just set, shut off the heat, cover it until that egg is cooked through. Now the plate, I'm just adding some rice, layering the egg, onion, and pork chop on top, and garnishing with a little scallion. And this is looking absolutely delightful. The reason I wanted to do this series is because not everyone has someone to cook for, and this month I don't because my partner's gone for the entire month of March, so I thought this would be a good idea, and I didn't want to waste any food. Now the pork chop itself is tender and juicy and super crispy on the outside. The onions and the egg have picked up that sauce, which is sweet and salty and savory. This is just so comforting, it's so warm, and so absolutely delicious. And this is the perfect bite right here. And I will definitely be making this again while my partner is gone, but there it is. Katsudon. I hope you all try to make this in your home. Thank you so very much for spending some time with me today. I really do appreciate you. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you loved it, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you haven't already, because I put out new videos every Thursday. Thank you so very much again. And until next time, happy cooking.